there's no rule that says I'm the only one that can talk in the cold open. And so, Nate, I'd actually like to go ahead and bring you in and really bring in what you're wearing right now while Seth plays like Candy Crush or something. What are you playing? Are you playing Clash of Clans? What is this? Are you
getting playing Mob Control?
Such an old man.
Seth, who has already mastered the art of paying attention to the podcast, has decided to add a mobile game to his 4:45-ish routine.
Right.
Nate, what are you wearing? And Seth, you may now look at Nate's shirt.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to distract myself from
Nate. I made him
Nate.
stop pre-show because I wanted Nate to fully. I don't know if you can just stand and reveal for the video audience and tell us what is on your shirt.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am not in St. Joseph, but a few days ago, a dear listener, watcher, said my name, and I got to meet this person, and I was handed this gift. And I just want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that we're all here because as Ice Pyro gave to me physically to remind me, it is a silly sport where the ball is not round. Okay.
It's so good.
Never forget, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about a silly ass sport where the ball is not round. So on behalf of Ice Pyro and all our dear friends, I did want to say thank you. The connections at training camp have been immaculate so far this year.
I just want to point, like, this is like a Monty Python play, right? Like it's a knight in armor with
the ball
with red, white, and gold trimmings, so with a football tucked high and tight in the suit of armor. This is special. Special.
Now, it was a padded practice, so my mind, it might have been the first one. I can't remember. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're also in the moment of training camp where I don't know what day it is. And I also just woke up from an immensely well-needed nap. So I really don't know what day it is. But I did remember to do this. Now I'm not saying, yes, thank you, Ice Pyro. It was Friday. Now I'm not saying if you come to training camp, you have to get me something, but I'm also not saying I won't wear it. Okay. Because the shirt.
Whoever can give Nate the greatest thing to wear. Yeah. I love the idea of this as a contest. What will Nate Taylor wear? And let me just tell you guys in advance, the answer is anything. I just cannot wait to see Nate's beautiful figure in a halter top that someone made for him.
It's going to be, we haven't really ramped up for that yet, but I'm not saying it's out of the playbook.
All gas, no brakes. We're going to Isaiah Pacheco this challenge.
Yeah. But, I have another game to play here in a little bit that is not a part of the rundown. Sorry, Tucker. But you see up there in them trees in St. Joseph behind the practice fields, we can put Ice Pyro up there. Because you know what? He brought me this, okay? And gentlemen, as he has said in the chat, if you're watching right now, he has shirts for you. I think there might be one for Tucker in the near future as well. But no, it fits me really well. It's nice and comfortable. And it just warmed my heart after practice on Friday, and I could really put it on, show Holly, and then Holly, just being like, this is real life, babe. This is what I have to wear on the next show. That's right, because it was Friday. Now, see, it's all coming back to me, ladies and gentlemen.
What day is it? What show is it? What the good morning, good afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, it's Friday, so I gotta wear it on Tuesday, babe. And we're here.
It's really good. And I hate to nitpick on Steven because there's one bad comment in the chat today. And it's Steven saying, I want to see LRZ wear that shirt. I don't want to see LRZ wear any shirt.
Exactly.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
The official beginning of Only Weird Games, appropriately starting with the shout out for Iced Pyro, a fabulous shirt. Tucker does already have one, and I can't wait for mine. And I can tell Seth is even more excited than Mob Kings or whatever the mobile game he's playing currently. Seth, I'm shocked that you are a semi-idle mobile game guy. I also am very frequently. It just doesn't seem like something your life would allow time for.
Well, it's either that or I have to be alone with my thoughts sometimes. And I thought about that, and that seemed...
You and I do have some things in common.
That seemed... Okay, I exited out. We're look, we're not up there anymore. All right. And it is 85 degrees here in the Park Rapids area, if you can tell.
He's only fooling us just to go back to the game.
Which is fine. I respect that hustle.
Yeah, right.
Listen, this is a safe space. If I pretended that there was never a time in 2020 when maybe I was checking on my Animal Crossing turnip prices while we were recording the show in a pre-video world, if I said I never did that once, did I talk about it?
I think there were like that. I'm pretty sure there were times like, look, man, I don't know what you just said. And I respect it. Like,
it's a hard year. I got to check my turnip prices.
Yeah, it was a tough year. There was a lot going on. And I would just say, like, so I'm like, I would like to think of myself as an OG of these really dangerously addictive games that actually alter your brain chemistry and dopamine production in a way that's super not healthy, which is very true. Because I remember Mafia Wars.
That's the Facebook one, right? That was the Facebook one?
Yeah, that's the Facebook one. I would set my alarm. I would set my alarm for the middle of the night so I could get up when we'd earned up enough points to do. Yeah, I'd get up at like 2 a.m. just so we could get ahead of people. Yes, sir.
That's the most real gamer thing you've ever said. That's so real.
What time did the meeting start today? What time did the meeting start, son?
I think the meeting was supposed to start at 4:40, Coach.
And I see you're on your phone a lot. You chatting with a nice young thing?
Well, I don't. My bear mob is pretty young.
What?
So
I'm sorry. What, sir?
Mob?
What?
You're making me want to play this game. This is not like guerrilla marketing for a mobile game. Although there's a lot of
so much fun.
Guys, hey, mobile game advertisers. You want us to talk about whatever anime looking idle game you want to there are several that I can't think of the name of any of. You want to talk about Genshin Impact? We'll do it.
Yeah. Seth, do you want to look at your phone, or do you want to look at me break down this rep of you failing in front of thousands of people in St. Joseph?
That sounds really depressing, Coach. I'd rather really just stay consistent and ignore my failures. If you're okay with it. Well,
do you have a Netflix account?
I do.
No. Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
No. What?
The coolest thing that Netflix has done that people don't really know about is Netflix has exclusively licensed a ton of games to mobile, and so you can get them for free logged in. I don't know how it works on mobile, but there's a little game called Hades that if you have a Netflix account, you can play Hades for free on your phone.
I'm the idiot that ends up spending money on this.
No. These are real games that Netflix has paid. Netflix is definitely operating at a loss on this because like Hades is $25 on Steam or whatever, something like that. You can first of all, Bloons Tower Defense, Hades. They've got the Ninja Turtles recent arcade brawler on there, Shredder's Revenge, which I paid money for on Switch. You can play it for free with a Netflix subscription on your phone. It's extremely good. Into the Breaches on here. You want to play a strategy game?
Man, I'm the guy who had to give away I'm old, my PlayStation 2. And I also had to get rid of Civilization and Civilization Call to Power because Jazz was like, if you don't stop playing this, and I really mean this, I'm going to leave you.
I will divorce you.
I was like, it's like, yeah, but baby, we have like
kind of an overreaction. But...
Yeah, we like have 2 kids together, and she's like, I don't care. Get off the game. And I'm like, but you don't understand. My my granary is going to be finished in one more turn, and then my second largest city can grow. And like I it's actually similar to like, but hey, who in the comments the one more to Adam Sheehan quotes one more turn, Seth? Yes, that's it. Just one more turn. Just one more turn. And
Nice
those
Pyro
games.
notes. They just announced Civ 7.
Oh man, see that I can't do that. Those games, those are so bad for me. I know we've got a lot of training camp stuff to talk about, so I won't even get into that. But I mean, like, no, you should check out this mob control game. It has just enough like real time action, and it looks neat because your little mobs go out there and they fight other mobs, and they're little cute. And you can have like bears, or you can have little ninjas, or
Are you in like a little
like
clan, or
hero.
do you like? Can I add you, or do you want me to just text? Do you have like a referral link? If because I'm downloading it now. If I like use a little referral link, can I get you some free gold coins that'll speed up the building of your base or whatever?
I bet it will. Oh, my base is like so close. If I get my defense up like 2 more, then I can utilize Optimus Prime and not just Bumblebee.
The Transformers are in it?
Okay. I know this sounds okay. Who of you has seen the? Oh man, this is so bad. We're gonna get
What's
such
it
a
called?
mean
It's
review.
called this looks like one of those games with the ads that are just not how the game actually works. But if you're
Mob Control. No, I hate those games. Mob Control. It's actually how it looks.
Okay,
and I really enjoyed it.
I'm downloading it. You just need to see if there's like a referral link where I can get you some free.
I will check that out.
I'll ask Nate a Chiefs question, and then you can text that to me. Go ahead.
Okay, but have either of you seen Dungeons and Dragons?
No, I heard it was very good. I never watched it.
Okay, because like what I'm describing to you, I just realized sounds a lot like describing the first like 8 minutes of Dungeons and Dragons, which my wife tried to do last night without me realizing it was what she was talking about, and I legitimately thought someone had slipped like acid into her water or something. Because I was like, "Baby, what are you talking about?" Like she's like saying, "Oh, it's like with the bird and but he's a man and they need him to do that." And I'm like, "What?" Like I genuinely was getting concerned. Go watch Dungeons and Dragons and laugh the whole time.
All I did was type in mob, and they were like, mob control? Like, okay, that's now I know it's an addiction. Got it. Right. I don't need to press this button. What's your question, Josh? Because based on what Seth just told us of a younger time in his life, it was very reminiscent to what a lot of guys deal with, which is, why are you on your phone so much? Only to then reveal it's the other thing called, they have video games on phones too. Yes, dear. Yes, they do. They have video games on phones, and they're highly addictive. What's your question?
This is now. I'll apologize to Tucker for what I'm doing the rundown. Seth, I want you to go look and see if there's a link you need to send me so I can have this going. I want you to do that while I ask Nate about what I think is the newsiest bit, but maybe not a whole lot of long-lasting things, which is some of the injury updates of some guys that we all certainly know the names of. Joe Tooney is back. He hasn't practicing pads yet. He came back for the 10-10-10 day. They're off today, so tomorrow should be his first padded practice. Hollywood Brown has been absent with an illness. We don't know that it's strep throat, but Xavier Worthy was out with strep throat, and then Hollywood was out with strep throat, but illness is what we've heard. Although Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a whole other thing we could talk about, he tweeted something fascinating and super interesting about PTSD that has been labeled as illness before. So certainly there's a long stretch of that. Go read Clyde's tweet if you haven't. Maybe we'll talk about it later. But you have Hollywood out sick, but Chris Jones, as Andy Reid detailed, has a groin. And as Andy Reid detailed, we all have groins, but Chris Jones has a sore one right now.
Guys, he really has a groin. What's his quote?
It wasn't quite Romeo Cornell, like, got a little groin.
Got a little groin.
But it was Andy Reid realizing that there was something about something to be said about groins there. Say nothing else about Chris Jones. So how serious is that? You really popped our balloon on Justin Reed last time on the sort of a big injury front. It's okay. It's the truth. Where's the level of concern right now on Hollywood or Chris Jones? I don't think anybody else. Nazi Johnson's been in and out. Justin Watson, we're kind of waiting to see back again. But of the injury stuff, Hollywood and Chris Jones seem like the biggest ones right now.
Sure.
Hopefully Hollywood's back tomorrow, honestly. But
yeah, I mean, there's really been no concern with Hollywood. from my understanding, I did get to see Justin Watson for a few minutes after yesterday's 10-10-10 practice, sort of on campus, which is what usually happens this time of the year now that we're fully into camp. There's nowhere to go, gentlemen. But Justin Watson seems fine. I think they're just going to slowly bring him back, so he may be practicing tomorrow. He injured his left foot, but there's no real issue with him, so he may be eased into it. I do think we're probably going to see Joe Thuney in pads tomorrow. I don't know what the ramp up will necessarily be, if that's just more individual period, if that's a little bit of some individual work with the offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I don't know if we'll necessarily see him in the team period. But look, Andy Reid was right to a certain degree when he said that Joe Thuney was the one who was most likely to return from the physically unable to perform list, and that has indeed happened. With Chris Jones, I think you can sort of categorize it as like a savvy veteran move for a guy who didn't have training camp all of last season, which is, I think he dominated the first day, maybe the first 2 days in pads. And I don't need to do another day in pads because there's a 10-10-10. Then there's an off day, which is today. And then I know we go back to pads. So it's not a major concern in terms of the groin injury, but it's just an acknowledgement that he is so important. And based on his sort of, tongue-in-cheek joke about, hey, I do want, some rest days. This is the best way to get both to acknowledge one another. Like Chris is like, I'm 30. I would like to have an off day. And coach is like, well, do you have something? And Chris Jones says, yeah, my groin. Yeah.
There's one thing I know for sure, coach. It's that I got a groin.
Yeah. So it's not, I mean, he was walking. He was in a very jovial mood yesterday. I don't think it's anything serious. Now, of course, we'll have to monitor it. You never want a player to come back and sort of aggravate the injury or make the injury worse. But yeah, I think that's mostly where we are. I know Clyde indicated in his tweet that he plans to be back with the guys tomorrow at practice. We have not talked to Clyde Edwards-Helaire yet, but that sort of makes his subplot intriguing. Just because of his past history. You can obviously go look it up. I don't know if it's necessarily connected to all those years ago when it comes to your mental health and obviously having some flare-ups as he described it with PTSD, but the Chiefs have been diligent with trying to understand how they can best support him, which he sort of acknowledged as well on Twitter. And it's I wonder how difficult it we can only wonder because I don't have the same experiences as he does, but I do wonder what it's like to basically try to perform at a high level in America's most violent sport and also trying to manage experiences that are pretty singular to you compared to your teammates, if not most other NFL players. And again, it's only, late July. So I appreciate him for sharing that. But he also understands too that, you don't want it to get worse. So I think it's smart of him and the organization to try to, just better understand how he feels, how to better support him. And, it's not like he needs training camp, I would say, for the most part, which has been good for Deneric Prince because he's probably, RB3 at this point. But it'll be nice to have a better understanding of Clyde when we do see him again, which should be Wednesday.
Fascinating. And yeah, neat for him to kind of open up on that some, and hopefully he'll expand on it more since he seems like it's something he wants to talk about now, which is very cool. Certainly didn't have to do that. This is could not be less related, could not be more unrelated. But I've seen a couple of chats, including a super chat from Joseph Jackson, saying that Nick Bolton got a 99 in Madden. His Madden rating is 99. I have not been I'm not distrusting. I just can't find anything about linebacker Madden ratings on Twitter right now, or on the EA website. So I will that just can't be. I'm not saying any of you commenters are wrong. I'm saying it simply cannot be. The only 299s revealed so far are Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Justin Jefferson's in 98, Chris Jones is in 97.
Take the bait. Take it.
I think that would probably not be the most accurate assessment if Chris Jones were not a 99. And so I'm pretty sure he's just messing around because he did say that his speed's a 50.
Let me double in on this here really quick. I've been looking for it with the thought of either this is going to ruin the show and my day, or the audience has gotten so in tune with our bits that Joseph just kicked a nice tenner to the KCSN Foundation. Thank you for doing that, Joseph.
Yes.
To send me in a 10-minute panic spiral. I had the thought of the first time I saw a different comment first. I saw Jim say Bolton got 99 in Madden, and then I saw Joseph's, and maybe it was just reacting to each other, but whatever it was, and that's great because the intended effect of Josh misses a good portion of the very eloquent and important things Nate says. That congratulations, folks. I was over here looking up Madden Bolton. Madden 99, linebacker Madden Nick Bolton linebacker. I've got evidence of those searches in my Twitter search right now.
What was
I don't think that's happened.
What was Nick Bolton's overall rating in last year's game?
Great question.
Let's say when like the season ended, right? Now Nick Bolton has told us, which I thought was
71,
quite interesting. Which I thought was quite interesting. It was like, you have to understand, guys, everything last year is with a caveat because, I had an injured left wrist, I had an injured left elbow, and I had an injured left ankle. And so I literally dragged myself like a warrior through the postseason and obviously helped my team win another Super Bowl, even though I wasn't fully healthy. And now I'm ready to make contract year money. To which someone in the media tent asked him, so what about the contract? I'm just focused on this year. Sir, that sounds to me like you're ready to make upwards of $17 million next season. Now that you're fully healthy.
And I hope that he gets it.
Did you see what Jordan Love got, Seth?
Next up.
I did.
Did I see? Yeah, this Jordan. Whoa! Breaking news? When did Jordan Love switch to linebacker?
I also saw what Google made last year in profit, but I don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about.
All I'm saying is, look, the numbers are gonna go up, and that's 17 million. That used to be 9 million, but it's now 17.
That's fine. I personally think that BJ should pay me $100 gabillion to do this podcast. However, my skill set, probably, I think you could find someone else who can do what I do, but with better hair. Like in our own network, there's someone who does literally what I do.
Hair.
Well,
it's the only part I disagreed with being an improvement, but it doesn't have a lot of hair.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to get.
God, if that isn't this show, spit it out, one of you.
I appreciate how well people know our show, and I just wanted to say I'm really happy Tooney's back. And also, on a final thing of things I appreciate, the number of commenters that are saying, when are you guys going to talk about what Pretty Ricky said? The fact that I know what you mean by that just shows me that Ricky is either the most successful troll in history or an incredible guesser of when things are going to happen.
Well, it's the most. Hold on. It's the most logical guess as to what.
Seth? Can you just explain what that is, since we haven't actually stated it
yet? Pretty Ricky is a Twitter user.
Let's take a break. Most successful troll my ass.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. KCSN.substack.com.
I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, No BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNOWG. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
I've got more news for you involving something special. The KCSN hotline, powered by Mint Mobile, which you just heard about. You can text this phone number, and theoretically, you could call and leave a voicemail on this number. I'm going to say the number, but I also think it's important who is on the other side of it. But the KCSN hotline, now active, powered by Mint Mobile, 913-407-6524. That's 913-407-6524. And you can send your questions, your comments. You can call and leave a voicemail, and maybe at some point we'll do something with that. But this hotline is in the possession of Tucker D. Franklin. The D stands for definitely has the hotline. So anything you send in this direction, and I'm going to say within some amount of reason regarding obscenity, although you got to feel what's funny to you and to Tucker. KCSN hotline, text that number, your thoughts, your questions, your comments, and maybe later in this show, certainly as we get going and figure out how to use the hotline here, we'll begin to take some questions and comments from the hotline to either discuss here, or maybe we'll just shout out a few of our funniest ones over the course of shows. So that is on the way. Enjoy communicating with Tucker that way. Share your thoughts about the show at the Mint Mobile hotline. Sorry, Seth, I took it really personally. You said greatest troll of all time. I took that personally, and I lashed out against you in a way that frankly wasn't fair.
No, honestly, at a certain point, I don't want to say we should ever blame the victim.
Sure.
But at a certain point,
in this very specific instance, if I'm going to stay in this abusive relationship, I really have no one to blame but myself at this point. You know, people have tried to call. They've texted the hotline. They've been like, Seth, come on, man, pay attention.
They've provided me a way out. I'm not financially dependent on you. You know, I've got a lot of ways to get free, and I'm just, I just can't walk away. You know, as the great Leanne Rimes once said, "Baby, you're the right kind of wrong."
Let's talk about Xavier Worthy and the Chiefs wide receivers. Some of them might be the wrong kind of wrong for where this offense is right now. But Nate, we've seen the guys in pads. Again, Hollywood out right now, but Xavier Worthy back and in pads. And we'll let Seth talk about Worthy a little bit more here in a second as well. But what have the takeaways been? We know how things were starting in the pre-padded days. Now we've seen a few practices, gotten some extra reps in. Literally anything that jumps out to you in terms of either surprises or just updates to give on the wide receiver rotation right now?
Yeah, we have a sizable look now at the first indications of the depth chart, I guess is the best way to say it. And look, I think for the most part, what we've said before has mostly remained true. I think it's interesting to see Kadarius Toney go from some days he's with the ones to some days he's just like, hey, you're with the twos. Nico Remigio has probably been moved around the most, I would say, between ones, twos, and okay, you want to take some reps with Ian Book? I mean, sure, fine, go ahead, do your thing. I will say this, I tweeted about it a couple days ago. We needed to see some level of improvement from Sky Moore once the pads came on. You have at least seen some highlights now, which I couldn't have said earlier. So that's a positive sign. But there are still reps where he's not getting open consistently, or he's still struggling with playing through contact. Obviously, anytime we see Xavier Worthy work downfield, it's just another reminder of what we talked about earlier. Not only does he track the ball well, not only is he fast, but he just gives you more options. And of course, it's tough to gauge just yet. And I wonder how he will be used in the preseason. But there are some days where Justin Ross just wants to remind you that he exists and that he can do specific things in specific one-on-one opportunities with a quarterback who can deliver the ball, and that quarterback's been Carson Wentz. And so even he's had some impressive moments as well. I think you're starting to see the entire tide rise to the occasion. But
that's a nice change.
Yes. Yeah. But I also understand too, it's the first time in pads. We've had 3 padded practices. I don't think anybody's done.
It's only been
There's only been 3, Josh. There's 12 more coming. But yeah, I would like to see Sky Moore continue to have productive reps. You want to see Nico Remigio continue to run routes really well, but hold on to the football. That's kind of been a small issue, whether it's getting the ball punched out from Trent McDuffie or just, for a lot of young guys who are, undersized, you could say, how do you control the ball going to the ground? And then, of course, for Xavier Worthy, it's any rep that doesn't involve Trent McDuffie. I know that Chiefs sent out some videos where it's just oh, yeah, Trent McDuffie is really, really good. And let's see you against, mere mortals on the other side of the ball.
You may only see 5 guys as good as this around the rest of the entirety of the league.
Yes.
You should get a few reps against merely good corners that the Chiefs have. Seth, to the Xavier Worthy point, you have attempted to caution us and yourself about, picking on the things that do and don't matter in training camp, and a lot of off-season hype around this time expires by September. What did Xavier Worthy show you in one particular rep that people can read about up in the Chief of the North newsletter? What did he show you that got you so excited you read a whole story about one play?
Not just one play, one rep in training camp. And so this is where we get to go to the title of our video, what actually matters at Chiefs training camp.
Yes.
The reality is what we're looking for. It's the same thing that matters in preseason games. You should not care about the result of a play. You should not. There is no scoreboard. There's a scoreboard in preseason, but it doesn't matter. It's pretend. It's as pretend as Josh acting like it makes him uncomfortable that I'm quoting Leanne Rimes at him. It's just pretend. It's
I wasn't even pretending to be. I was just trying to get us. I was trying to find the segue. I was living for it. You know this.
Oh, I love it. It's not real, right? The results. What you care about is the process. So what you're looking for at training camp, especially, is consistency in showing translatable, repeatable traits. It's the same thing, kind of what you're looking for when you look at a player's college film. So I use Patrick Mahomes as the example a ton, because when Patrick Mahomes came out, a bunch of people, said this and that about his win-loss record, about how bad the defenses were in whatever conference he played in. As you can tell, I follow college football very closely.
The Big 12.
The Big 12. There we go.
Kind of the most.
Yeah, because now I remember, the next Big 12 quarterback that succeeds is be the first one. As though, what conference you're from somehow, all those Tennessee studs before Peyton Manning. No one, that's not what matters. And so when people would say, you'd show a Patrick Mahomes highlight, and he would throw a football on the run, on a dime, 40 yards downfield, and people would say, well, yeah, but against bad players. And it's well, no. Being able to throw a football with extreme accuracy consistently while on the run is a repeatable, translatable trait.
But Seth, it was Louisiana Tech in September.
Exactly. And that's It just doesn't matter because it's all about the traits. Now that becomes more real, like O-line, D-line, because it depends on who you're matched up against. It's like, oh, look at that functional strength this player has. Well, how does he do in the Shrine Bowl, in the Senior Bowl against guys that, like when you're trying to gauge strength? That's like, so say Chris Jones, his college tape showed a ton of functional strength, could just throw guys out of the way. It was awesome. Probably should have been drafted higher, honestly. Well, not probably. I mean, we've all seen the results. You could see it training camp, even though you can't read too much into one snap. Everyone's going to have at least one great snap. Everyone's going to have at least one god-awful snap. It's going to happen. Mahomes threw a pick like right to Trent McDuffie in training camp. These things happen, right?
That was mostly a Justin Ross. I don't know what route I'm running. What?
Yeah,
You're
should I
a
go?
Justin Ross experience. Huh?
And in the middle of the play,
Justin Ross, and oh my
Yeah,
god,
right.
Justin Ross.
in the middle of the rep, Justin Ross said, "What am I running again?"
Yeah. Oh man, why'd you throw to Trent? That's weird. So the thing that you're looking for is
hold on. Here's my favorite thing about Justin Ross. Hey, you want to see me sky somebody? Yes. Wow, that looks really good. Even the referees are like, I don't even know if he was in bounds, but touchdown. I'm too impressed because the restaurant.
the rule of cool.
Yeah, but also,
And then he has moments where he wants to sky more somebody, and it's like,
Yeah.
well,
It's-
my favorite part of the first day of pads is, okay, someone lined up improperly. Why is Andy bringing him back in the huddle? And Justin Ross is in a new spot on the field. Got it. It's like, nope. Rashee Rice is directing. That's right. You're on the other side of the formation. Oh, Andy stopped it again.
And that's how you
And-
lose reps.
And look where Justin Rossi is now. I think it happened 3 times on the first padded day.
And if
I
you
was
want to
like,
know why, well, he's tall and he should be on the
Yeah.
field more.
it's year
Well,
3. Can we?
Yeah.
I mean, and this is part of like the install. So like sometimes, as players have told me before, it may be a similar formation, but like you change some of the terminology. You might, Pat might want to ask it in a different manner. And so again, this is why you have training camp, to go through all these sort of systematic, very process based, like, hey, this is the entire playbook, but hey, on this one, we're going to flip it. And, this is all part of like the mental testing that goes on as well. But it was just funny to be like, well, Sky Moore's lining up correctly. And Justin Ross is, figuring out. Now, he hasn't had any issues since the first day in pass, but it was just funny, like, what is something triggering that, like, okay, this part of the playbook that is being installed today in pads while it's starting to get hot and I want to make a rep and I'm with the ones, shit, I just made another mistake. Line it up again,
That ability. Well, and so there's another example of something. Do you have the ability to consistently line up in the right spot during the long drive drill? Do you have the ability to get to your spot to where Andy's rub routes, have the right timing? And again, people are going to have good reps. They're going to have bad reps. One thing, like I saw someone comment in the comments.
Maybe.
Good stuff, Seth.
what they say, Seth.
Just top-notch stuff by me. I talk good. Thank God none of my employment depends on me being somewhat eloquent. Anywho, so they mentioned that, some version of, I'm tired of getting hyped up for wide receivers because of training camp and preseason. You want to know why you're mistakenly getting hyped up in the wrong way for
why, Seth?
receivers in training camp or preseason is because you're hyped up because of the result. I don't care if a wide receiver ended up wide open because someone blew a coverage and caught a touchdown pass in the preseason, or 2 or 3 or 7. How'd he get there? Did he show a repeatable, translatable trait that's going to show up on Sundays? Who is the competition? How much does the nature of that competition affect him? So this is a long road to a short thought to justify the title. This is what actually matters. These are the traits. And that's why I was able to write 1,500 plus words on one snap by Xavier Worthy against an NFL, probably not starting caliber corner, but an NFL caliber corner who's actually like now starting to get some reps, and it's going to be really hilarious.
Was it Kelvin Joseph?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Who ran
Former second round pick, had all of the hype out of the pedigree, as Brett Veach would probably say.
Yep. Has a ton of tools, ran a 4.35 40, fast guy. It wouldn't surprise me if they made a functioning corner out of him because that's what they do here in Kansas City.
Seth, it's happening. It's slowly
when he's got
happening.
length, he moves well. So here's the deal. This was a Rob Collins tweeted out a really nice video of Worthy scoring a touchdown during 7-on-7, and everyone paid attention to he made a contested catch against Joseph. And everyone's like, wow, went up and got it, ball skills, etc. I was like, I don't care about any of that. You know why? Because the Chiefs don't care that much about contested catch skills. They just don't. Seth, that's not true. Look at who they drafted and who they've signed. They like Hollywood Brown. I really like him, but he's not a contested catch guy. That's not what Andy Reid values. And so this is where when you see Xavier Worthy, you want to know what you need to know about Xavier Worthy? Can he get off the line in pads when someone's playing press? And when you see him utilize his quickness to get an unbelievably free release.
Ooh.
Just a quick little step left.
He teleported,
got Joseph.
man. It's a great. You could miss that little jab step because it just seems like he's going away from a former second round pick who's like surprised he can move that direction. It's special.
Absolutely. Just a little jab step with that left leg while he's setting up his right leg. And all Joseph does is take a teeny step to the right. He just leans a little bit, and now he's flat-footed, and you watch Worthy just run away from him. And then as Kelsey and Hardman, maybe there was some kind of rub route that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, Kelsey and Hardman is an interesting part of it because Kelsey ends up stopping, and a defender just flies over him. But it was hilarious. Right after Kelsey basically ran into McCole Hardman, and if I had to guess, who was left? You got a decade, you got a dozen years of NFL experience in that route combo there, but I would guess that Travis Kelsey didn't do the super wrong thing.
Yeah, who knows?
Who's been in the offense longer, Josh?
So here's the funny thing that you say that. So Kelsey's been in the offense longer, but McCole Hardman's been in it longer than any receiver on the roster. So,
one of the funniest things I remember, there was a game, I can't remember which one, in 2022. Chiefs lost at the last second. There was an attempted slant, essentially, look to Juju at the end that didn't work out, and Juju turns and starts yelling at McCole Hardman because they were supposed to have kind of like a rub look that would have worked. And it's funny because Juju had been in the offense for like 6 months.
Yep.
And that's one reason why Smith-Schuster was so productive in Andy Reid's offense right away. Really smart player who gets the right spot. So here's the thing about Xavier Worthy that I wrote. Who knows how he'll do in terms of, because you need to see it, right? Over and over and over again. But those are the snaps that I'm watching for when it's a game time thing that involves. We all know Xavier Worthy's fast. I don't need to see how fast he is. I mean, is it nice to see him? Because after he gets that release, he just runs away from Joseph, and Joseph is very fast. Now he gets caught up in the muck, starts to run away from him again, and Joseph just grabs the back of his jersey, tries to pull him back. And that's where, so you saw two things here. A great release without needing to be physical. That is how guys like Devontae Smith or Tank Dell or Deshaun Jackson or any of these, hyper small, twitchy guys. And honestly, mostly Tyreek Hill too. Hill is built like a running back, so he doesn't utilize it as much. But like a guy like a Jalen Waddle, they're not winning with physicality at the line, but you can't press what you can't touch. And so that was really interesting to see. It was really encouraging. And so I'm curious. I am so curious what Worthy's going to show in the preseason. But if you don't want to get hyped wrongly about a receiver, and you never know, right? Because it's all practice, all whatever. Stop looking at the results of the play. Start looking at how they got there. Don't look for things that only come in handy once every, 50 targets, like a contested catch in the back of the end zone. That just doesn't happen that much in the NFL. And it's not going to result in a ton of targets because it's such a situation-specific thing. Look for releases. Look for the ability. You know what you look for? When Travis Kelsey stops in the middle of his route and Trent McDuffie goes flying over his back, and there's all this muck, can he adjust his route and then get right back to his spot? You know who can't do that? Sky Moore. That's what he struggled with. So look for things like that, and you're much less likely to be led astray. And that's what
Nate,
actually matters. Sorry.
I can see you revving up, Nate. I just have some breaking news here. Our previous beat reporter on the Madden ratings and super chats from Joseph Jackson Joseph has reported, per report, Charles Minahue's injury setting has been turned off permanently in Madden 25. Seth, your thoughts?
I never had a doubt. I'm just glad to see that Madden is now reflecting real life, in which I'm sure he will be practicing any day now.
Tomorrow, I think.
So, just a quick side note.
Thank you, Joseph.
We as reporters walk down the hill towards the end of the last periods of practice, and sometimes I want to watch the entire special teams period because of the new kickoff rule, and sometimes I just want to come down just to get some FaceTime with some guys on the team or in the organization, just have a little quick chat, obviously before we do the press conferences after practice. And Seth, it has taken all of my strength once I make eye contact with Charles Minahu to not walk toward this man. I've done it multiple times at practice. I've had conversations with Charles Minahu outside of football context, and yet I know I'm not supposed to go over to the golf cart. He knows I'm not supposed to go over to the golf cart, but just wait till I see him in the cafeteria. Just you wait. Because
I almost spat my drink out when I saw KL's comment of Seth is definitely turning that bad boy back on. I love the idea of Seth buying Madden 25, firing it up, and the first thing he does is going to Charles Minahue's setting and turning his injury slider way up.
Injury slider to 6 to 8 games. Click. Yeah. So another player that I need to name. Again, there's a lot of guys to keep track of. It's 90. But I know somebody also said it in the chat here. I think of second, like in terms of depth chart with receivers, in terms of second depth guys in the secondary group, Montrell Washington been
really
phenomenal since the Pats have come on. Montrell, who obviously had a couple of games with the Chiefs, most notably as a special team guy, as a returner, has looked as well as you could ask in the second team offense with Carson Wentz. And I think it's a lot easier to evaluate all the receivers this year because they have two quarterbacks who can really push the ball downfield, which is not what you could say about, I think at times Blaine Gabbert could, but he really had to, you could just tell, that's an old man putting his entire body into the throw, versus Carson Wentz, who makes it look very easy. And Carson's had a very good training camp comparison to, again, Blaine Gabbert, and before him,
he's just a better player.
I understand that Pat Henney. Yeah,
and I understand that there's always like a stigma around quarterbacks that were starters and were maybe supposed to be stars and didn't work out. But I think that we talked about at the time. I'm so glad they had that signing because it's like, you know what? Can Carson Wentz catch fire for 2 or 3 games and play really not just I can fill in, but play really well and beat really good teams? Yeah, absolutely. He can in a good system. I think, just so you guys know, I think we need to answer Anonymous Mango at least one time.
Sure. I agree. Yeah, 100% agree. Mango has been on the Nico Armigio grind for a while, and with a super chat of £4.99, has asked, and we can make this the button on the receiver group here. Nate, what's the percentage chance right now that Nico Armigio actually makes the 53-man roster?
I'm sorry. It's really 50-50.
That's higher than I thought you were going to say after you apologized.
I'm really sorry. It's a bit of a cop-out because the first step for Nico is to perform well in the preseason and get through all of training camp, which is something he couldn't do last year. I also understand too that Sky Moore exists, Kadarius Toney exists, and much of the same can be asked of both of those gentlemen. Can you make it through training camp? Can you have a good preseason? I think Nico probably is the player who, this is also tough to say because, again, we just haven't seen it yet, but he might be the player who has the best chance to make real headway as the kick returner, as a kickoff returner. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, in the new kickoff rules, you have 2 returners, not just one. So
you have to have 2 in the landing zone.
Yes, between the 20-yard
all
line.
sounds very
and the-
silly, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. So, as of right now on the depth chart, it is Nico Remigio and Louis Rees-Zammit as the top two kickoff returners. That will most likely be the case through the first preseason game, I would imagine, at least. And so, look, Nico looks very good at that. He's also if you need to, in case of emergency, could be a very good punt returner as well. So I wonder in the second half of these preseason games, they're going to have Nico be one of the punt returners to see how he does in that role. So again, it's 50-50, which again is higher than it was last year, I should say. Last year, I thought he had maybe like a 25-30% chance. And it was sort of increasing right until the moment that, unfortunately he had the shoulder injury. But, you could say the same thing about Montrell Washington, who I think could largely be someone who might not clear waivers if he does well, or gets, a nice little trade compensation for you, similar to, Smith Marset. Last year. But honestly, I think
it's a tough room to make that
Yes.
final few, because you know that Brown, Rice, Worthy, Hardman, and very, very likely Watson are all
Are you still on that real quick, Nate? Are you locking in McCole Hardman at 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It just makes too much sense for them. And an injury would have to occur, I think, for McCole not to make the roster. Also, this too, I think the percentages get a little bit harder because I just don't anticipate them carrying 7 wide receivers unless there is a Rashee Rice suspension to start the regular season. So if there's only 6, it makes it that much more difficult to make it through the crack or to have a real shot at this. I think that's why it's so fascinating, and why we might talk about receiver a lot from now until cut down day on August 27th is we've named like 5 or 6 guys and they only may be competing for 1, maybe 2 spots left. And if you think I'm quitting Kadarius Toney, you are a fool, because he's done about as well as you could have asked him to. And if he finishes training camp, I mean, start a party, guys. Like he's fighting through training camp right now, which is admirable because he's, hasn't done it before in his career. And again, it's only been 3 padded practices. But yeah, there's a good chance Nico makes it, but a lot of things have to fall in his direction.
It's fascinating if you think Hardman's a lock and if you think they're going to try to get to 6. That's just, that numbers game gets sketchy quickly. Let's talk about the other thing that we were looking at, I think, most closely when the pads came on. I know there's been some variance, Nate, from day to day, but how are you seeing the Chiefs generally handling the left tackle battle out there right now? And where would you kind of put I don't think you've got an answer yet, but where would you put the battle in terms of who's performed better and what the workloads have looked like?
Yeah, so now that we've gotten through the initial part of training camp with the full team, all that matters now is how much do the reps either stay the same or change between now and the first preseason game? Who really gets those first, and again, coach will say something nonsensical like, no, the ones will play a quarter. It's literally 2 drives. But who gets those 2 drives? Is it Wanye or is it Kingsley? I think, and I've told you guys before this, I think everything has been designed for Kingsley to get as much reps as possible, to get the best chance possible to win the job. They know what Wanye Morris's baseline is, and that's good to know. They don't know what Kingsley Suamata'ia's baseline is, and they're trying to raise his floor so that they can get to all of the athleticism that he shows. Because when he's asked to do things athletically, it's a joy to watch. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to be patient. You've got to be technique sound. I think sometimes he gets his hands all out of whack. There are some reps where he literally lunges his body at people, and Mike Dana will embarrass you every time you do that. There are some, there's some repetitions where he's a little late coming out of his break, but when he's in the team periods, and you can see his ability in like the screen game or the stretch runs or just anything to the perimeter, you're just like, wow, that is night and day from Donovan Smith. And that is Donovan Smith on his best behavior in January, So that's why you draft him, but it's all the small technical stuff that he's got to get a lot better at.
His hand usage was so inconsistent.
Yes,
and
to win the job.
Yep.
So he's got to do all the little things to win the job, and I think he'll have the longest runway between now and again throughout the preseason to see how much he can sort of polish those inconsistent behaviors in a way that I just think it's understandable for the team to say Wanya Morris could be a really good swing tackle based on our roster and the needs of our roster. But there's a potential higher ceiling with Kingsley. And so how much we invest in that now, how much can we tap into it sooner rather than later?
Seth, obviously you've not been at camp. I have not been at camp. There's not a whole lot of footage to look at in terms of talking about what actually matters, but anything at all bubble up for you over the conversation over the first few padded practices or where the tackles stand right now?
I think it's just you can see here's what I would say. They clearly want to give Sudamataia the longest runway. They're giving him a shot. My assumption is that if he were running away with the job, they wouldn't still be switching reps. Now, Nate made a really good point. We're 3 padded
really
practices
early,
in,
right? Yeah.
We're super early. Let's see, heading into the first preseason game, that'll be really interesting to know. And then basically, I fully expect Sudamataia to start that first preseason game unless he blows it. I'm on fire with his name, and so I'm going to find some excuse to say it. And so that really is all, you can take some stuff away from that. But I like Morris. He just pass pro he's not as good in pass pro as he is as a run blocker. That's at least what he was as a rookie last year.
Let me ask you this about Wanya, and then we can do a quick little hit to Spags and Seth. I didn't plan this to be this way, but we're not going to have time to talk about the slot corner, so we'll just leave it at the bottom of the rundown, and we'll get to it soon, bud. I promise. We can't leave it there for too long, and that would feel pretty bad to have it just wrangle there until the season starts. So.
Here's your answer, Seth.
No, don't. Well, Nate. What, Nate? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Okay, I can't even tease him.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the answer, Seth. None of this matters. None of it matters. I'm putting things out there so that none of it matters. My name is Steve Spagnolo, and I can put a guy you've never heard of with the ones because I'm a lunatic. Okay, I'm a schematic lunatic.
And
Nothing matters.
I've got a defense full of guys that have all been there for years, except like one. So I don't even know. Like seriously, I just can't wait to see what kind of psychotic thing he's gonna do. It's gonna be really funny.
We're just doing stuff, because who knows? Maybe Trent has to be outside, but it doesn't really matter. The things you worry about, you should not be worried about. So that's your answer because. I do think things would be different.
That's not teasing me. That's genuinely comforting me on the issue.
Oh, okay. Well, I do think Justin Reed not being out there makes Spags go.
Yeah, who knows what I might be doing?
Nate is tapping his fingers together like a villain in a chair, maybe with a cat on his lap, just tapping his fingers.
Hey, Jaden, you want to play outside corner?
Seth, I got a question for you. You're worried about the corners. I got a question for you. What day is it? What time is it? Listen, none of this really matters. Eat obbies. None of it matters. Let me ask you this, Seth. Never mind. We're out of time. You lost your Wanya Morris take. It was unnecessary anyway. You mentioned Spags, Nate. It's okay. I was going to ask about if he can develop further than we've seen, but we're at an hour and I want to get this Spags question off real quick. So we're talking about him anyway. Nate, you wrote about, at least point people your direction in The Athletic at nytimes.com. I don't know. We got to get you a Bitly, Nate. I'm going to make you a Bitly to your new author page because otherwise
bit.ly/The Athletic really hates money.
We'll be back on Thursday.
Bit.ly/The Athletic really hates money, but different reasons and shows differently than how Seth does it.
Bit.ly/The Athletic really hates Seth.
Well, yeah. I mean,
there's evidence.
all evidence.
Look,
There's
look, at bare
substantial
minimum, Seth,
evidence,
they didn't
Your Honor.
want to put a ring on it for. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, no. They just, they really did truly with me go by the adage, why buy the cow if you're already getting the milk, and they milked me for everything.
We made a lot of milk.
That looks like it hurts.
Nate, Spags talked about wanting to create more turnovers. You might ask him about it. It's hard to remember at this point, but it's
Right.
over at the New York Times /The Athletic /NateTaylor.com. What did Spags say?
Yeah, give it a nice little read. If you want to know what is the defense doing right now, I at least have an answer. It's trying to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of taking the football away. As I wrote several points last year, they were just really consistent at getting stops on third down, most notably because of, Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie and obviously L'Jarius Sneed. But without L'Jarius Sneed, without some of the pieces from last year, I think it's noteworthy that Steve Spagnolo has said we need to increase more turnovers. We need to have more takeaways. And also, is Trent McDuffie going to get an interception this season? That would be nice. That'd be really nice.
It would be really incredible. I'm kind of actively rooting for him not to at this
Right,
point.
right.
Because it would be really incredible.
Can he get 7 forced fumbles, 8 pass defenses,
Can you
14
imagine
sacks?
Can you imagine a corner who makes the All-Pro team like 6 years in a row and doesn't get a single
Retires without a pick.
By
the end of his career, it's like year 12, and there is a ball coming straight to him, and he just volleyball sets it up just to keep the clean sheet.
So I can't man, guys, I'm sorry. I know that it's the AFC Championship and we're down 5, but
I'll tip it to you.
Yeah. He just tips it up.
Bump.
Or there's the one play where he gets to the backfield too fast, and Lamar Jackson hits him right in the helmet.
Yeah, that really. It's like, oh man, Trent. Yeah, Trent. That would have been a great play, but you were too good at blitzing. So
He's petitioning the league to change it to a fumble. It actually was a strip and a recovery. I didn't actually take it off.
So do you know who led the team in interceptions last year, gentlemen, and what that statistic was?
Like maybe 2.
I can't even. Anybody ended up with more than 2.
Who led the team in interceptions, guys? With 2.
Was it Jalen Watson?
2.
It would have been. Nope. I would say Watson or Reed.
Nope.
No, it's gonna be even weirder than that.
I genuinely have no idea.
Does anybody in the audience know this question?
I say Nick Bolton do it in 10 games or something with one broken hand.
No, Nick Bolton got a freebie from Russell Wilson, and that was it. He had 1 interception. Yes.
Who? I honest to goodness can't remember any.
Tucker says Mike Edwards. Is that right?
Mike? Oh yeah, Mike Edwards sounds right.
No. It was
really?
Deion Bush had 1 in the playoffs.
I thought Connor had 1.
I'm going to double check this right now because I'm dead on serious.
We didn't say Sneed, but that's not a good. That's not a funny one.
It was ... L'Jarius Sneed with
okay, all right.
2. So
they
the guy who led the team in interceptions isn't here anymore. I mean, how are they going to replace him? He only got 2 interceptions.
I do think it is interesting.
Did
that
no
they're
one else
trying to
have
make that
more
like
than 1?
They really they
list. I'll read you the list, baby. Don't worry about it.
They didn't pick off a lot of passes at all.
There were guys who told me they weren't really trying at times last year just because either the scheme is,
You're talking to the DBs or the receivers, Nate.
Remember we saw Brian Cook run with the ball in his hands in Frankfurt, Germany,
yeah,
I literally thought, can he play running back? Can they get him a swing pass? Can they get him a swing pass on the edge just to see it? So L'Jarius Sneed had 2 interceptions in 16 games. Mike Edwards, in a limited role, his role increased as the season went along, had 1. Willie Gay had 1. Shamari Connor against the Buffalo Bills had 1. Justin Reed had 1. Nick Bolton had 1. And Brian Cook had 1.
Great
Wow.
point from the comments from Adam. Kadarius Toney had at least 2.
Yep.
So Snead and Kadarius Toney both contributed to 2 interceptions.
2 interceptions, kids. 2. So look, I don't know who's going to lead the team in interceptions this season, but they really do need to make it a point of emphasis. And so I think that's why that's one of the reasons why I wrote the article. And even Andy Reid mentioned it when I asked him, like, how much do you care about turnovers and interceptions now in training camp? Because like Seth said, none of this actually matters. But even Andy was like, for the guys in the defensive back room, we can keep working on that, catching the ball.
Well, it really is. I mean, you can't. There is not a bigger play in football than a turnover. Like, other than, a touchdown. Like, the possessions are
sport.
It's a silly
the
sport.
Ball isn't round.
And it's incredible that they had a top 5 defense last year. All year, mind you. They didn't do the ramp up last year. The entire, if it weren't for Kadarius Toney's existence, the entire storyline week 1 would have been, do the Chiefs really need Chris Jones? Because their defense played so well.
Right.
But so in a way, thank you, Kadarius Toney, for saving us from that. But like they were great out of the gate without picking the ball off much or really forcing a ton of fumbles.
Now, what's fascinating, and I wrote about it in the article. Please go check it out on the New York Times' website, where you can learn a lot of things about a lot of things going on in America right now.
What else? Name one other thing that's happening.
So
I'd rather not.
The turnover differential.
I respectfully decline to read anything about anything. But thank you for asking.
No,
You're welcome.
We have a lot of fun around here, and I don't want to. I do hate to drag us into like too serious of a thing, but it's a serious time. That Tua contract is nonsense. We all know it's nonsense.
Can they get out in year 2? And I'm asking genuinely. I don't think
they're gonna want Tua.
I don't think they're gonna. I think they can't only get out of that contract until year 3. Can you believe that
Mike McDaniel's gonna be looking to get out of his contract in year 2?
That the Packers looked at Jordan Love in the eye and said, "Hold on a minute. Hold on. Are they really about to sign Tua? Yeah. We'll we'll call you back. Holy shit, they signed him. Oh my god, get on the phone. Get on the phone. Oh my god, we didn't have to pay him. He's already won a playoff game. Oh my god, but 2 of them. Get him on the phone. We'll give you Trevor Lawrence contract right now. Please sign it. 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 You know why? You want to know why? Because Tua's making over $50 million a year.
But the thing is, they probably have a provision in that contract where they can really cut him loose after a year or 2 if they really need to. You kind of like just it's kind of like something like if it's lukewarm, like something's cold or it's hot, you drink it, but if it's lukewarm, you kind of spit it out. They call that the Hawk Tua provision.
All right, thanks everybody. Talk to you Thursday. In the show, Tucker. I don't want to work here anymore.
Because like when you spit out something, like